So on one hand, it seems like nobody's talking about menopause. And on the other, it seems like there are all of these myths that get passed around about it. And that's really frustrating. So in this video, we're going to break down 3 of the most common menopause myths that I've heard floating around and talk about evidence-based strategies you can use to make your menopause experience less miserable. So keep watching. I once had the unique pleasure of being interviewed on a podcast called WTF Menopause, and having walked alongside a decade's worth of clients through this very challenging, very complicated life phase, I think that phrase sums it up quite accurately. As with many female health issues, the concept of menopause comes with a lot of cultural baggage, much of it inaccurate or straight up insulting. According to the masses, menopause is the time of life when women get fat, go crazy, stop sleeping, and sweat profusely for no reason. Historically, there's been little medical support for the perimenopausal transition, almost no talk about preventing the miserable symptoms that often accompany it. And when issues do arise, women are often told that it's normal and they have to just deal with it. In reality, menopause often reveals underlying, unaddressed hormone dysfunction. It strips away estrogen's protective buffering from our brains, and it ushers in a season of increased risk for cancer, heart disease, and osteoporosis. But with an enlightened, evidence-based approach, all of these potential issues can be prevented or managed, which also minimizes the symptoms we associate with menopause too. To add a layer of complication, menopause often coincides with a high-stress season in women's lives. Many women find themselves caring for elderly parents or grandchildren, or sometimes both at the same time. They may be reevaluating their routines due to a newly empty nest at home, or a career change, retirement, or a divorce. Add to that the very real hormonal shift that makes many women less inclined to nurture, tend, and feel like focusing all their efforts on hearth and home, and you've got a recipe for a well-earned midlife crisis. But wait, I've got good news too, I promise. Because the truth is that most of the negative stereotypes and norms around menopause are modifiable, meaning you're not doomed to experience them. You've got a lot more control than you think, which is why in this video, I'm going to debunk 3 big menopause myths for you. We'll also talk about some actionable strategies you can use to make menopause just another life transition instead of a miserable downward spiral. Myth 1. Hot flashes are normal. Just deal with it. Yes, estrogen fluctuations during perimenopause and menopause can cause hot flashes, but other factors can trigger these sleep-disrupting, embarrassing episodes too. Blood sugar crashes, cortisol bursts, and even thyroid hormone imbalance can mimic menopausal hot flashes, and their root causes can be addressed with a functional medicine approach. Do you have hot flashes at night that wake you up? Make sure you're eating protein, fat, or fiber in the evening. If your dinner consists of a handful of pretzels and a glass of wine, you're asking for hot flashes, whether you're menopausal or not. I often recommend a bedtime snack like half an apple with sugar-free peanut butter or some veggies and hummus. The healthy fats, protein, and fiber in these foods will help stabilize your blood sugar as you sleep, which can resolve those midnight sweats. If you do suspect that your hot flashes are related to female hormones like estrogen, there are safe and effective plant-based nutraceuticals that can help. A small pilot trial done by the Mayo Clinic saw a 50% reduction in hot flashes over 6 weeks when participants ingested 40 grams of flaxseed daily. I know, that's too many flax seeds for most of us to handle, but let's break down what it means and how we can use this data to our advantage. The active compounds in flaxseed are considered phytoestrogens, which are antioxidants with weak estrogen-stimulating effects. Phytoestrogens can be found in other plants, including Rapontic rhubarb, the main ingredient in my favorite anti-hot flash nutraceutical. Other non-drug options that have helped many clients with hot flashes over the years include black cohosh, vitamin E, and non-GMO soy. You can find my recommendations for these supports at the link in the video description. Quick side note, many women find that hormone replacement therapy can also be a powerful and safe treatment for symptoms like hot flashes. Not to mention that when utilized and monitored appropriately, strategic and individualized hormone replacement therapy can help prevent bone loss, cardiovascular disease, and even dementia. You just have to be aware of how efficiently your body metabolizes estrogens. But that's a topic for a different video. Myth 2. The only things you can do to prevent osteoporosis in menopause are drink milk and exercise. First things first, milk is not actually a very good source of calcium. We've all been a bit hoodwinked by certain clever ad campaigns involving mustaches. That said, highly absorbable calcium is crucial for maintaining bone density, and certain forms of it can even improve bone density. But as we age, our digestive tract has a harder and harder time breaking down and absorbing minerals because we tend to make less digestive acid and enzymes. And lots of people end up on long-term antacid medications because of reflux and heartburn symptoms, which only makes it harder for them to absorb calcium and other bone-supporting minerals. So our first takeaway is, don't wait until you're in menopause to increase calcium intake, either via food or supplementation. Bone density loss actually begins in your late teens, so there's no reason to wait. Prevention is the cure in this instance. Even if you miss the boat on prevention, there are still options beyond milk and exercise. Incorporating calcium from bone matrix, like microcrystalline hydroxyapatite concentrate, or MCHC, provides naturally occurring calcium, phosphorus, trace amounts of other minerals, bone growth factors, collagen, and other vital bone proteins. It is a far cry from plain calcium carbonate. Making sure you have adequate vitamin D levels and adding vitamin K2 to any supplemental vitamin D3, make sure that the calcium you eat actually gets incorporated into the bone. Check out some of my favorite bone strengtheners in the video description. Beyond nutrition, there are other hormones besides estrogen that play a large role in bone density, including thyroid hormone, insulin, growth hormone, and cortisol. Working with a functional medicine guide to optimize these levels and systems is another key component to bone density prevention. See? Lots of options. Myth 3. If your mother had a rough time with menopause, you will too. I see people take this fatalistic approach to menopause all the time. Folks love to blame preventable health issues on genetics, don't they? But it's a tough sell for me. Yes, there are often genetic inefficiencies that increase our predisposition for menopause symptoms like weight gain, hair loss, hot flashes, and the like. But here's the thing. If your hormones are wacky before menopause, they're probably going to be wacky during menopause. So, if we're normalizing premenopausal hormonal issues like heavy bleeding, irregular periods, PMS, cramping, and migraines, instead of getting to the root of them, we're setting ourselves up for a doozy of a transition and all the long-term health conditions that come along for the ride. If your mom or the females in your biological family had a tough time with menopause, the time to do something about that is now. Assess your current hormonal health utilizing comprehensive functional testing, which should include evaluation of estrogen metabolites, testosterone, cortisol, and your thyroid hormones. Balance your blood sugar and trim off that excess body fat before you hit menopause, because it does get harder, though it's not impossible. soothe or recharge your body's chronic stress response system, and cultivate stress resilience in advance. I'll put some resources in the video description so you can get started. You're not doomed to repeat the past if you take steps in the present. I know this is a lot to think about, and I know that menopause holds a certain dread for many of us, but you can retain your sanity, stay healthy, prevent serious disease, and feel good in your body through the menopausal transition. If you found this myth-busting helpful, please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel. And be sure to have a peek at the resources I've linked for you in the show notes as well. Thanks for tuning in, and look for more functional medicine hormone strategies in my other videos. We'll see you in the next one.